We have been misled as women. We are told that belly fat is actually a natural process of going through menopause. I'm here to tell you it's not. And it's not just a vanity issue. You know that it's an inflammatory type of fat. It's the precursor to other diseases as well. It's imperative to reduce the belly fat in order to be healthy, especially during this time of life. I'm going to share the 5 shifts that need to happen in order for you to lose the belly fat for good. We're going to address the root cause. I'm not going to tell you to take a bunch of supplements. I'm not going to tell you to do restrictive dieting or go out and exercise like crazy. Those do not work. The first shift that needs to happen is you need to I think the one thing that I want all of you beautiful women to take away from this video is your body will continue to hold on to that belly fat, to that stubborn hormonal weight, if your body does not feel safe. What do I mean by this? When we skip meals, when we over-exercise, when our stress levels are so high, and when we look at ourselves very negatively and we judge ourselves, your body does not feel safe. Just think of a child going through those emotions. It does not feel safe. And when your body doesn't feel safe, it feels like there's an emergency. It's going to hold on to resources. It's going to hold on to fat. Your body is just trying to protect you. And you may feel safe consciously, but remember, your body is your subconscious mind. And if it does not feel safe, it will hold on to the fat. I see this all the time. When women start to do practices and eat in a way that allows their body to feel safe and comfortable and not pushed to the extreme, the weight falls off. All right, let's get into the 5 shifts that need to happen in order to lose this belly fat. Make sure you stick around for shift number 5. It doesn't seem like it would make a big difference, but it is actually one of the best things that you can do to reduce belly fat. It is a game changer. The first shift that needs to happen is you need to stop skipping meals and under eating. Here's why. When we undereat, when we skip meals, what do you think that does to your body? It puts it under a lot of stress. You may feel better not eating as much because maybe when you do eat, you feel bloated and gassy, and you feel like it's causing you to gain weight by eating this food. But your body does not want you to undereat, especially during perimenopause and menopause. Our bodies need nutrients. It needs nutrition. It needs the comfort of food in order to feel safe. Of course, there is a fine line of overdoing it, and there's the fine line on the other side of undereating. So there is a balance, and this is everything in life. I would live life in the extremes. It seemed to be more comfortable to be out on either side, but the balance is in the middle. And so many women do not live in the middle. They're trying this extreme diet, they're under eating, then they're overeating, they're dieting, then they're binging. That has nothing to do with balance in the middle. And in order for your body to feel safe, it needs consistency. It needs consistent hydration. It needs consistent food, but that doesn't mean eating all day long. It needs consistent meals. When we skip meals, it puts our body into fight or flight. It raises the inflammation, it raises the cortisol because your body cannot predict what's going on. You know what's going on. You're just skipping a meal because you think the less calories you eat, the easier it's going to be to lose the weight. It's completely opposite in perimenopause and menopause. The less calories you eat is actually slowing down your metabolism, and your body is going to hold on to anything it has, including fat. So how does this look practically in your day? It means eating 3 consistent meals. Do not skip breakfast. I know there's a lot of information out there on intermittent fasting. I'm just here to share the Ayurvedic approach. And as you can already tell, the Ayurvedic approach is more compassionate, and it's working with your body, not fighting against it. We don't want a war zone going on in our body, pushing it too hard, pushing it to extremes. Breakfast is the best way to start your day to lower your cortisol. Now, after breakfast, you want to take 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours, and then eat your lunch. After your lunch, make sure you have a good sized lunch. This is the time of day where your food can be fully digested the best. After your lunch, go for a short walk to help regulate your blood sugar levels, and then give another break, and then have dinner. The other benefit of eating 3 consistent meals instead of skipping meals and not being on a routine is that you have way more energy and you don't get those crashes where all of a sudden you just need food and you binge. You are consistently eating at your meals, and that provides energy for your mind and your body. The second shift that needs to happen is you need to stop eating after dinner. There's a very specific reason why in Ayurveda we do not eat after dinner. Now, I make it sound like this is so easy. It is not. It was one of the hardest things for me to give up, was eating after dinner. I love to eat after dinner. I would eat a big dinner and then I'd have dessert and then I would snack at night. Typically it was on popcorn or really anything I could get my hands on. And so I truly know how difficult it is to break the after dinner snacking habit. But here's the truth. After 6 p.m., doesn't matter where you live, it all has to do with light and dark cycles and circadian rhythms. After 6 p.m., your digestion decreases. The capacity decreases significantly. You become more insulin resistant after 6 p.m. And this is one of the main reasons why women are gaining weight around their middle. So the key is to eat a light and early dinner. This doesn't have to be perfect, it's just the ideal. It doesn't mean that you'll be able to do this perfectly because of your work schedule, maybe your family schedule, but this is where we want to aim for a very specific reason. So remember, your largest meal should be your lunch. And your dinner should be a light dinner and an early dinner. So any time that you can eat around 6 p.m. or before is ideal. The third shift that needs to happen in order to lose that belly fat for good is you need to stop doing intense cardio and intense weight training. I know it seems to make sense. More cardio means you're going to burn more calories, but remember, during this time of life, it's not a calories in, calories out equation. There's so many other factors going on. The timing of you eat, how you're eating. All of these factors actually have more to do with losing belly fat than the calories in, calories out. Most women know that you don't want to overeat. If you overeat, you're going to gain weight. But if you're watching this video, you already know those standard equations. What you're looking for is actual answers when you're not eating that much and you're still putting on belly fat. One of the best ways to look at belly fat is that belly fat is a storage container for stress hormones. That's exactly what's going on. Your belly is called a cortisol belly for a reason. It's storing cortisol. There's many things that can increase cortisol, like poor sleep, stress, but intense exercise is one of the main drivers of increased cortisol in your body. You would think that it would be good for losing weight, but it's actually not. It backfires. I see this all the time. Women will say, I'm doing everything. I'm eating well, I'm exercising, but I can't lose the weight. One of the first questions I will ask someone is, tell me about your exercise routine. How many times a week are you exercising? How long are you exercising? And what type of exercise? There is a pattern I see with women with belly fat. They are very driven, they're intense, and they are pushing their bodies too hard. And they carry a lot of stress. They're overachievers, they're overdoers. Now, I'm not saying this is you, but this is definitely a pattern that I see. These women are doing intense cardio or they're doing long sessions at the gym. Your body is begging for you to slow down, literally begging for you to take it easy. We are going through a major transformation when our hormones are changing. When we push our bodies through intense exercise, we're just increasing the cortisol, leading to belly fat, increased inflammation, and a whole host of other symptoms. We want to do resistance training. We absolutely do. We need to use our muscles, whether you're just using your body weight or you're using weights. Whatever feels right for you, but you should not feel depleted after your exercise session. You should not feel sore the next day unless you've never used these muscles before. You should have energy after your exercise. In Ayurveda, exercise is meant to give you more energy, not deplete it. And if you watched any of my other videos, you know one of my favorite types of exercise is called the 5 Tibetan Rites. It makes you feel so flexible, so grounded, so strong, but balanced. I really feel like this is an amazing exercise to start practicing, especially during perimenopause and menopause. It doesn't mean that you can't do weights. I love doing resistance training. I love doing yoga. I love doing other types of exercise, hiking and walking and biking. But for my daily morning practice, this is what helps me feel grounded and strong. And Really, it's the only exercise that I know that balances your entire endocrine system. It's really actually hard to explain how you feel after doing the 5 Tibetan rites until you've practiced them for at least a month. I highly recommend them. The fourth shift that needs to happen in order for you to ditch that belly weight is to stop eating cold, raw food. I know this goes against a lot of things you've been told about proper nutrition, but it all comes down to your digestive capacity. When we're going through perimenopause and menopause, our digestion gets weaker. I know it's annoying that it does this. It doesn't mean you have to live with that. We just have to work with our digestion to make sure that it stays strong and efficient. And if you look at any traditional culture in the world, they did not eat cold, raw food. They ate warm cooked food for a reason, because it's easier to digest. 75 to 80% of your available energy goes to the digestive process, and raw food takes a lot more energy to digest. I want you to think of a raw carrot versus a cooked carrot. Now, if you think of them in your stomach, which one is easier to digest? Obviously, the cooked carrot is easier. It's already been pre-cooked, pre-digested in order for your digestion to handle it better. And I know you've been told that raw foods are bursting with vitamins and minerals and it's so fresh. Yes, they are fresh, but it doesn't mean you can digest it. We've all heard the saying, you are what you eat, but in Ayurveda, it's you are what you can digest. You could be eating the healthiest, most beautiful, colorful food ever, but if you can't digest it, all you're doing is producing digestive toxins. This is called ama in Ayurveda. I talk about ama a lot in my videos because it is at the root for how you feel. If you have a lot of digestive toxins because you're eating cold, raw food, you're going to feel very sluggish, bloated, gassy. You could be constipated, or you could have diarrhea with IBS. You're just not able to digest all this type of food. And why do we avoid cold foods as well? Think of your digestive system. Think of the inside of your body. It's warm. It's very warm. If you eat a lot of cold food, cold smoothies, cold water, cold salads, your body is forced to heat that food up first. And this heating up process of your food takes a lot of energy. So we want to give our bodies warm, cooked food that's easy to digest. When we do this, less digestive toxins are formed. And an overabundance of digestive toxins is one of the main reasons for stubborn hormonal weight. We want to do everything we can to support our digestive system. The fifth shift that needs to happen, remember, this is one that surprises a lot of women when I tell them this is one of the most important things that you need to do in order to lose belly fat and excess stubborn hormonal weight, is to stop drinking cold water and to switch to warm water. I know this is strange if you've never heard of this before. Again, we're going to come back to the principles of digestion. What warm food does for you, the exact same goes for warm liquids. When you drink cold water, especially ice water, what you're doing is you're putting out your digestive fire. I want you to think of your digestive system like a beautiful campfire. And in order to get this fire hot, we need it hot in order to fully digest our food. When I say fully digest our food, that means it's digested and all the minerals, the vitamins, the protein, the iron, everything from that food can be absorbed to where we need it the most in our bodies. Now, I know a lot of you don't like to think of a fire in your body, especially if you're having hot flashes. It's just an analogy. Your digestive fire in Ayurveda is called Agni, and the term Agni stands for fire. We want a fire. Think of what happens when you pour water on a fire. Right, it goes out, it smolders, it has to start all over again, it needs more fuel. When we drink cold water, we are putting out our digestive fire. This is the number one reason for the creation of digestive toxins. You're going to feel bloated, gassy, or it will go the opposite direction. You can have heartburn, and you're going to feel really tired after you eat because your digestive enzymes couldn't do its job because you kept putting the fire out with this cold water. All traditional cultures, you've seen them. They sip warm tea, they sip warm water throughout the day. They're not lugging around their big water bottles full of ice water. Again, we come back to the temperature of your body. Think of the inside of your body. Is it cold? No, it's warm. We're warm-blooded. Our reproductive fluids are warm, our blood is warm, our plasma is warm, everything is warm in our body. So when we drink cold water, if your body could talk to you when you drank a cup of cold water, it would be, what are you doing? What are you doing with that cold water? Now I have to spend all this energy to warm that water up before I can digest it. This is exactly what it would say if it could talk to you. Ironically, studies have shown that warm water is more hydrating than cold water because your cells are more able to absorb it. It's the same, it's a match of temperature. Cold water is a shock to your system. So how do you actually do this practically throughout the day? Well, every morning I boil 2 liters of water and I pour them into 2 1-liter thermoses. I sip this water throughout the day, and there are very specific times throughout the day not to drink water. This will improve your digestion, which means less digestive toxins are formed, which means it's easier to be a healthy weight. So you want to stop drinking water 30 minutes before your meal. You don't want to drink any water with your meal other than a few sips if you need to take some for medications. And then you want to wait at least an hour, preferably an hour and a half after your meal before you start drinking water again. This all has to do with your digestive enzymes. If we drink a lot of water or liquids before, during, or after a meal, all we're doing is diluting those digestive juices down there. Your body cannot fully digest your food if it's being diluted. I have women telling me they notice a difference after 2 days. They say they'll never go back to drinking all this water around their mealtime. That leads me to the next point. We've been told you gotta drink water, you gotta drink all this water. But are we drinking too much water? I know for me, I was drinking too much water. I thought more water the better. I also knew intelligently that we didn't want to drink gallons and gallons of water, but I still was drinking too much water. Traditional cultures aren't dragging water bottles around with them all day. Where are they getting their hydration from? They are drinking water, they're having some warm tea, but the main way they're hydrating their body is through their food, through warm, cooked food. They're not eating a lot of dry, processed, raw, cold food. My teacher, he would only drink 4 to 5 cups of water a day. When I came to him, I was drinking probably 12 to 14 glasses of water a day. And he told me that is way too much water, way too much water. And I found it very difficult to think, what, drink less water? I'm going to be dehydrated. But over time, I started drinking less water and started eating more nourishing, moist, warm cooked food. It made all the difference. So even with these 5 shifts, I still get asked, what food should I be eating? Tell me exactly what food I should eat. Well, that's not so simple in Ayurveda because the foods that I could recommend for you to eat could be very different than the foods I would recommend to someone else to eat. Ayurveda looks at us as unique and beautiful, and the root cause can be very different of why you're experiencing these symptoms compared to someone else. So if you are someone who wants to go deeper and figure out what foods you should be eating, then you can head to my bio. There's lots of information to get started there. Having a list of your own foods is a game changer. No longer are you relying on Instagram trends or Google to tell you what to eat. This is based on a full Ayurvedic analysis. So if you're interested in getting a full Ayurvedic analysis of your tongue, your eyes, your face, full body, along with a very detailed health and wellness questionnaire that you would fill out, you can head to my bio. There's lots of information to get started there. This really is a game changer when you get a personalized food list of what to eat because we are all so different. All right, beautiful ones, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment below with what topic you would love for me to cover next. Your feedback directly shapes the future of this channel. And just remember that this time of life was never supposed to be this challenging. There is a better way. There is a natural way. All right, beautiful ones, have an amazing day. Much love.